As November comes to a close, it is time to revisit this beloved shade garden of mine one more time for the year. Join me as I put this bed to rest for the winter. Stay tuned. Hello friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. I am Jenny, and today we are going to take one last visit to my beloved shade garden for the last time this year, and we're going to go ahead and put her to bed, put her to sleep for the winter time. We have been in this space really all year long, from the early spring to summer to early fall, so forth and so on. There are a few things that I need to do really to prep this bed in order that it will have a great winter and it will have a great start to the next season come springtime. So I'm going to go through and just show you some basic things that you can do to your flower beds right now to really prep them and get them off to the best start for next spring. Here in North Carolina, remember we are in North Carolina, Zone 7B. It is towards the end of November, and we have had a couple of really heavy frost, light freezes that you can see have really zapped some of the perennials, and yet some of the shrubs are still doing just fine. Like Franny's hydrangea back there still has green leaves on it. May not be until we get a really hard freeze that she will start to lose all of her leaves. But we're going to go ahead, I have the time today, and we're going to go ahead and get in here and get started and get cleaning it up. I'm going to show you how do you deal with perennials that have gotten too big and you need to remove them from your space. What are some things that you can do to prevent bugs and insects from wintering over in your garden, and talk about composting and mulching and how to prune back perennials. All of those great things that I think are some basics that you can't overlook when going for your flower bed and preparing them for the next growing season. So let's get started. One of the first things you want to do to prep your beds for winter is to get rid of any summer annuals that you had, whether they were planted in the landscape or in a container. You remember we have been to these window boxes. This will be the third time now, and this particular window box, I told you when I planted it a couple of weeks ago, month ago, whatever it was, for the fall, that this was going to be really an experiment because I have no idea how much sun this gets in the wintertime. I knew that it was probably going to be not as much as it needed, and sure enough, it doesn't get nearly the amount of sun that it does in the summertime. What I'm going to do is, some of y'all may fuss at me and go, what are you doing that for? Well, I'm doing it anyway. It's my garden and I'm going to do it. So be the expert of your own garden. I'm going to go ahead and pull these plants out of this window box and replace them with something that's truly a shade loving, and it's a little tip for you, a little hack. I know this doesn't get enough sun because, one, the red kale has turned green, so that's sign number one. If it had enough sun, it would still be that nice, vibrant, burgundy purple color, but it's now green. And my violas, which are more shade tolerant than pansies, are just not blooming like they should be. The window box that's above the kitchen sink is doing much better because it does get more sun. So we are just going to go ahead and rip these out. Now, they really haven't even grown very much root systems yet, so it's not hard at all just to go ahead and pull this out. Now you can see here that the kale, they were gallons anyway to begin with. Yep, not really any new growth at all. And I am going to, with my ivy, I think I'm going to leave it in there because it is definitely one that can really do a lot of shade. So I'm just going to leave it in there. I'm going to take out the Dusty Miller. It's actually one that's been rooted really well, and but it's going to come out too. It got really leggy on me. So this just kind of goes to show and prove that, you know, garden by experimenting. If you've never done something before, don't be scared about doing it. Just doing it. Just go for it and don't worry. If I wanted to take these plants and put them somewhere else, I could. Obviously, I would need to be much more gentle than I am with them right now. I'm not going to save them. I'm just going to go ahead and remove them and move on from there. Now, the hack that I'm going to do is that I am going to use some perennials that are truly shade loving, and they are evergreens, and we're going to put them in here. Now, you may say, well, Jenny, that's not really a hack. Well, the hack is I'm not going to officially plant them. What I'm going to do is there are 3 evergreen grasses. These are from Southern Living, and I might actually have to move my ivy around just a little bit. We'll see. So on 1, we're going to move this ivy out of the way. 2 and 3 on the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull my ivy out, and then I can replant it because it's not in the exact spot that I want it to be in. So we're just going to put it off to the side for right now and get these guys replanted. And then, so we've got the 3 grasses on the side that we're going to place in here like such. And then I have these 2 gorgeous, they're called arborvitae ferns. They're not technically a fern, but they certainly look like it. They have multiplied and grown and are extremely happy. They will be here all winter long. They're evergreens, so pop that in between the 2 grasses like such. And we're just going to bury the pots themselves. We are not going to take them out of the pots and plant them into the ground. We are just going to leave the pots in here, bury the pots within the dirt so it looks like they're planted, but they're really not. See? Ta-da! There you go. Great little hack. You have evergreens that are in here. Come springtime, late winter, when I am ready to redo this bed or I want to use these perennials, I can just plop them right out of this window box. They're still in their containers. They're insulated for the winter. They're very happy, and it just gives me a nice different greenery texture right here. They truly are shade-loving plants, so it's a win-win. Now, come 2 weeks from now, when it's time to decorate for Christmas, what I can do is come back through here, add some more greenery, add some red berries, different things, and then voila, you have a Christmas into winter, New Year's, possibly Valentine's Day, who knows, kind of display. Simple little hack, looks nice. It looks better than just having a bare window box right here. But everybody can keep growing and be happy and fantastic. Now, Again, if you have any perennials rather that are in your bed, you need to take that out. Remember, I did that several weeks ago. I do have the blue container down here on the end that I'll take the wheelbarrow down to. We will empty that and remove the pot for the winter. If you have ceramic glazed containers that are not freeze frost resistant, what you need to do is empty them, and you can take them and just turn them upside down and store them somewhere, whether it's the back side of your house, a shed, your garage, under your deck, wherever you have a space that they can just kind of be out of the way. Here in the South, of course, we never get super cold for extended amounts of time, so we don't really have to worry about them, like putting them in a kind of a heated space. As long as they're turned upside down, water doesn't hold into the bottom of them, then they're fine, just out of sight, out of mind. Then come spring, when you're ready for them, you can come grab them. This is my beautiful blue pot that did really well here this summer. This was a first addition for me. I had not put in a tall blue pot within the bed, but I really loved it, and I plan on doing it again next year. Oh, Jerry's coming home. We have in here was the, oh gosh, what was in here? White broalia and then white alyssum, and this was, see, this is why you put your tags in here. Jerry's home from work. So we had the Silver Falls dichondra, which is in here, but it really got smothered by the white knight. So white knight is that beautiful alyssum, and then the endless flirtation broalia. Really super pretty, loved it, but you can tell that the frost has gotten it. It is zapped, and so it is time to go. Well, look at that. One root system took out the whole entire plant. The Silver Falls, though, I have noticed it will, I guess, which is a good thing and a bad thing depending on how you look at it, but it will root on the ground if it's left on the ground for an extended amount of time. It's a good thing because it'll make a great ground cover, but also you have to look at it as to make sure you get the roots so that it doesn't decide to become pesky and spread itself everywhere. So make sure you get all of your roots out. Then we're just going to heft, we'll see how heavy this thing is, out of here. It's not too terribly bad. Oh my goodness, it just won't come out. Oh my word, y'all. Okay. Whew. Good night, folks. So it is important to make sure that you get all of your dirt, soil out of your containers. Always tell y'all to always make sure you empty your containers completely, because even though the original plants came out easily, there were roots all the way down. This was at the very bottom of the pot, and there were roots all the way down there. You don't want to try to recycle your soil from year to year. It is just not worth it. Your plants will not do as well because there are roots all throughout there. If you've had a great long vigorous growing season, there could be pests hanging out in there. They could have laid their eggs. If you had any sort of, disease or virus issue, that is in the soil. So clean out your soil, take it another one step further, go ahead and wash out your pots, put them away for the winter. It just makes your life easier and better in the long run, and you're going to get better, healthier, happier plants. Clean out your pots. My next big main focus of what I'm going to do in this bed is that I'm going to cut back all of the perennials that have already been zapped or are close to being finished for the season as far as their foliage. These sticks were gorgeous hostas, so they have already of course been zapped, but I do have some hostas that still have some green to them, but the tips have been gone ahead and hit by the frost freeze. I'm going to go ahead and just cut all those back. This is my gorgeous holly fern. I say it's Annette's holly fern because it came from my friend Annette in Texas. We were visiting and I took a clump of her holly fern home with me so that I could have a little bit of Annette with me here in North Carolina. She is great. She's an evergreen. She will be beautiful. I'm going to leave her all of the perennials, hostas, the Sun King, spikenard back there that looks like these brown sticks. All of that is going to get cut back to the ground. That's what I'm going to focus on now, and then we'll move on to the next thing. In this bed, I have 2 Lenten roses, or hellebore, is the technical term. Here in the South, we just call them Lenten roses. This sweet thing is probably just a little confused with, it's 2020, so whatever. But she is blooming now. Typically, they do not bloom until after Christmas, like January, February. So it is November. She's a little confused. Care for Lenten roses. One, we love them because they are deer resistant, nice, really tough, hard leaves. They are evergreen, so even when it's not blooming all winter long, you will still have this great foliage on it. They are low growing, so they do great kind of in the front, middle of the bed, depending on how you have it organized. The old varieties will naturalize, meaning that they will naturally spread. The newer hybrids, like the 2 that I have, do not spread nearly as much as the old-timey ones. This is a gorgeous color. I want to say this is, I think I have my tag. Yes, I do. See, this is why, another little tip for you, when you're planting your perennials, go ahead and take your tag and plant it near, like right at the base of the plant. So this is Helleborus mahogany snow. Sometimes I lose the tags, like they're in there, but they get buried and lost. But I found this one. I do this with all my hostas, any kind of perennial I plant. I always stick my tag deep down in the hole with just the little tip sticking out, so because I don't remember all the time what they are. Now, care for Lenten roses. They are super, super easy to take care of. What I'm going to do right now is just go around the outside of it and get rid of the old foliage. That way it just cleans it up. I can get under there and pull all the leaves out when I want to come back and remulch in a little while. The new mulch can come up next to it, and this is where the action's happening, so we're going to clean up around the edges. And just take your good pair of clippers and clip your stem as far back as you can. Don't just take the tip off, because then you'll have a stalk there. Go as far back as you can. For example, like take all of that off. That's what you want to have off, and then just go around the plant cleaning it up. You'll be amazed at the difference that it makes. Easy as that. Clean it up. You'll notice that I did take some stalks out of the center. That was because they were just looking really ratty and looking ugly. Again, just go back as far down to the crown of the plant that you can, and it's as easy as that. Easy peasy. Also, when you're going through your beds, make sure that if you spot any weeds, go ahead and pull those. If you spot plants that maybe are volunteers and they shouldn't be there, go ahead and take those out. I'm not sure right here. This possibly could be a baby Lenten rose. I don't know. I didn't plant it there, but it's going to come out because I don't want it in this spot. So if you find something doesn't belong there, now's the perfect time. And of course, this could just be a nice fancy weed, but we're going to go ahead and get rid of it. You will see that there are 3 eucharis down through this side of the bed. This is Dale's strain. My eucharis will be a semi-evergreen, so I'm going to leave them alone. There's not much cleaning up that I have to do with them. If there are some old spent leaves, you can clean those up a little bit and pull them off. But really, their cleanup will come in the spring once all this foliage dies back and their new foliage emerges. Right here, I have 2 pockets of these sticks. This is Solomon seal. This is a variegated Solomon seal. Fantastic perennial that spreads by rhizomes. So we're just going to come in here. The frost freeze really has already gotten this, and I'm just going to go ahead. I mean, that's how hard it is. I'm just pulling them off. If you want to go ahead and divide these now and send them somewhere else in your garden, this would be a great time to do it. You just dig them up. Again, they literally are on top of the ground. If you can see, there are these brown sticks right here. Those are the roots. So if you want to put some Solomon seal in some different areas, just take those up. Again, they're very shallow. Take them up. Plant them where you want them. Don't plant them too deep. Just put them on the top of the ground. Put a little bit of soil on top. Mulch, pine needles. Boom. Come next spring, you'll have beautiful Solomon seal there. I will probably do that if I have time. I'll do some now, and if not, I'll just push it to the spring and wait till the spring. I always think, oh, I don't have time now, but I'll have time later. Yeah, right. But, oh well. Do as you wish. And then if you do have some green, just take your clippers and go ahead and just cut it all the way back. I have finished cleaning up, cutting back all of the perennials that needed a little haircut for the season. You'll notice I have a nice big huge wheelbarrow full of the potting soil, the old plants, the cuttings, leaves, all of that kind of stuff. We've had people ask us in the past, what do we do with it? What do you do with it? All those kinds of things. So I'm just going to share what we do with this leftover old foliage. I would like to say that it is a compost pile, but that implies that we're actually doing it the correct way and we reuse it, but we don't. Again, we're out in the country, live on 8.5 acres. We've always got lots of extra room. So we have an area close by right here at the house, and we call it the dump pile. So we just take, whether it is yard waste like this or just food scraps, whatever, we put it in the dump pile. It is a nice natural area. I am sure over time there'll be some great compost in there. We don't ever have plans on reusing that. It is just a place for us to go and dump this and get it out of the way and just let it decay naturally, so forth and so on. I suppose if you don't have a dump pile and you're a city person, so this is hard for me to talk to because I am not a city person, y'all can chime in the comments and tell other people what you do with your yard waste, but I suppose that would be where you would bag it up, mulch it up, put it into your trash cans, and then let your city waste management take care of it from there. So if you have any good tips, stick them in the comments below, because sharing is caring and y'all can figure that out for my city folks. What we're going to do now is I'm going to go back through those perennials. I have a couple of them that need they need to be moved. I'm not going to get rid of them, but they have just outgrown this bed and I want to do some things different. We're going to dig them up and I'm going to show you how to, if you need to pull perennials out, exactly how to do that. If you'll remember back to the summer garden tour that we did right here, you will remember that I have 3 really nice lady in red perennial ferns. They have died back, I've cut them back, but they love this spot, which is a great thing, but the bad thing is that they loved it so much that they were easily this tall and they were really crowding out my zebra hydrangea. What I'm going to do is go ahead and dig them up. I do not have an exact plan on where they are going to go, so I'm going to repot them into just some old nursery pots that I've put just a little bit of soil into the bottom, because these are probably going to have a pretty good root system to them. When I planted them, they were in 1-gallon containers. This container that I have right now is a 2 or 3 gallon container. It is a 3-gallon container. So I want to have as much room for them to go into as possible. When you are digging up a perennial, a shrub, anything, the goal is to get the absolute most root system that you can get. This will ensure that your plant has a nice, smooth transition. So the best way to do that is to start back further than what you think. So this is where I see the sticks of the stalks of the fern. If I were to cut right there and shovel right there, I'm cutting off a ton of my root system, and I do not want to do that. So I'm going to come out further. Now I know this is probably way too much, but that's okay. So I'm going to stop right here and go in. Once you come all the way down, just pull your shovel and you should see your plant move just a little bit. If you do, that's great. And then we're just going to work ourselves in a circle all the way around. All right, so you can see that I have a huge hunk of dirt right here. I do not want to take all of this with me into the container, so just come around and you're going to zhuzh off, it's a very technical term, zhuzh off all the extra soil until you start to see your roots. And then once you hit your main root ball, you're not going to be able to pull a whole lot of soil out again. Remember, we're blessed with this red clay, so it's nice and thick. This area stays especially wet in the winter. That's why these have done so well here. So things are going to get messy. We're going to see if this thing fits in here. I don't think it's going to, but we'll see. Ha! I think it's a little too big. What do you think? Oh my word, y'all. Okay, we're just going to go for it. I do have some soil in here. Just a great regular potting soil would do wonderful. This root ball, it is definitely wider than it is deeper, so the issue is trying to get it into this size pot. Yes, I was taking off some roots when I was doing this. That's okay. Clearly we still have a ton of roots right there. What I did was just the technical term of root pruning, simply meaning you're pruning back the roots, encourages new growth. So you know, it all works out great. I am going to go ahead and put some biotone into my pot to encourage that great root growth. So if you have some root fertilizer, go ahead and add that to your container. Oh my gosh, y'all. All right, take two. So instead of a 3-gallon container, I have a 7-gallon container. This, I know it will fit. So once again, put some soil down in the bottom for the roots to grow on. Give it a little shaky shake. A little biotone for the roots. Here we go. Success. There we go. Now, you will notice though that this is down further in the pot. It's okay, I don't care. It's not staying here permanently. It's fine. But I do have some empty space because I had to take so much of the sides off that I'll come back with my potting soil and make sure that it's nice and snug down in there. Again, it does not have to be perfectly level with the top because it's going to be moved in the spring and put back in the ground. It's fine. But you do want to take care of any roots that are exposed. You don't want any holes on the sides. So yes, there is dirt on top of the plant. So what I do a little shake. Make sure there's not a lot of soil sitting on top of the root ball itself. It's all tucked down in there. There you go. Now, if you did want to go ahead and divide your ferns at this point, you totally could. So same thing with ferns, hostas. Most perennials like this would be a great time to do it. You would just, of course, dig it up just like we did. Then take your nice sharp shovel and you're cutting off massive, huge hunks of that root system. With this kind of fern, on this size, if I had wanted to cut it in half, easily cut it in half, I probably could have cut it into fourths. So again, but I like these. I like these, are nice and big, so we're just gonna leave them. We'll get them well watered in, and then these ferns are extremely cold tolerant. All of them, I'm doing ferns and astilbes. Very, very cold tolerant. I don't have to worry about putting them somewhere else to overwinter. They can just sit outside, let the good Lord give them rain and water, and I don't have to worry about them. So just make sure that they are somewhere though that they can get rain. You don't want to put them in a shed or under, you know, some enclosed space unless you're going to be willing to go out there and water them all the time. Now that I have figured out these need to go in 7-gallon containers instead of 3-gallon containers, the rest of this should move pretty quickly. So we're going to get those dug up. The next step that we're going to do to get this bed ready for winter is we're going to go ahead and top dress the whole entire bed with the Espoma Land and Sea compost. This is a great way to amend your soil over time by adding this wonderful compost to the top of the bed. It's a great time to do it because all the mulch is pretty much gone and we're going to remulch after this. Compost is a great way to add natural nutrients and vitamins and minerals to your soil without having to do a whole lot of digging and amending. Because this is an existing bed with full of perennials, their roots are all down there. Of course, now you can't see any of the foliage up top, but the roots are what's so important with these shrubs and perennials, because a happy root system means a happy plant up top come spring, summer, and fall. Go ahead and get those out and just do a nice layer over the whole bed. It's as easy as that. So we've put out about 15 bags or so of the land and sea. You can already tell it just makes a huge difference in the bed as far as giving it a nice blanket for the winter. You will notice though, I'm sure I'll go ahead and address it because I know some of you are going to be asking, there is a difference in color. There is kind of a lighter brown and then there's almost a black. Don't really know why that is unless that the bags were manufactured at different plants. I don't know. That would be a great question for a spoma to figure out why they are two different colors. But I mean, you can clearly see a brown and a black. Either way, hopefully they're going to provide lots of great nutrition for this bed. And the next thing we're going to do is just do a final layer, nice thick layer of mulch, and then we'll be all done with this project. The mulch is laid down, and man, what a difference a couple of hours of some work does for a bed. Before it was just a hot mess bed, and now it is a nice, neat and tidy, ready for winter bed. Some simple little things to do now, late fall, early winter, that will ensure that you have a great start to your spring season. Come spring, if you need to move some things around, feel free to do that. But this is just some easy tips for you of how to put your bed to rest for the winter. I hope that you have found this informative. I hope that you have enjoyed it. If you are not already a subscriber to Gardening with Creekside, we would love to have you join the family. As always, thank you for gardening with Creekside. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.